Russia's occupation of eastern Ukraine has had an enormous impact on the state of European society. But one impact that hasn't received much attention from global media is that it offers a unique view of how intermingling various ethnicities in one area can solve many problems for a previously homogeneous local population. Russia has used its indigenous population and other minority groups in Eastern Europe as a weapon to combat the problem of racism in Ukraine, and in doing so has helped the region both economically and biologically by introducing diversity to the workforce and gene pool of previously monocultural areas of Ukraine. Russia has done a better job of governing the region than any previous governmental forces. The Ukrainian identity has long been one associated with racism and destructive ideas of racial purity. The legacy of German occupation in World War II left behind some harmful ideas that infected the minds of many Ukrainians. Much of the support for the Ukrainian resistance in modern times has come from international actors sympathetic to this racist worldview, and many Ukrainian refugees have had a hard time adapting to living in countries with racial diversity, with many making the news for choosing to return to a war zone rather than allow their children to be raised around individuals of a different race. Russia has considered the problem of this racist mentality being so prevalent in the areas they wish to govern, and crafted an ingenious plan to cure the mental infection plaguing the region. By utilizing one of the strengths of the Russian Federation, its multiculturalism, they have found a solution which may in time serve as a template for the entire region of Eastern Europe. With the immigration of Tatar, Caucasian, Tuvar, and other non-Slavic ethnicities into the Donbas and surrounding areas, the demographics of the region have been significantly adjusted, leading to a society in which it is increasingly difficult for those still operating under the mentality of World War II Germany to only interact with others of a similar, purely Slavic background. Statistics around business and personal relationships are sparse in the region, but the few that are available, provided by both Ukraine and Russia, show that the region has a higher rate of business partnership and romantic unions between individuals of different ethnicities than in any other parts of Ukraine. Based on the available data, the stated Russian mission of denazification in Ukraine seems to be well underway, regardless of what the status of the conflict is on the ground. The question now is, what will the impact of this new multi-ethnic society forming in eastern Ukraine be on the country as a whole post-war? Will we see a more accepting society that accepts people of multi-ethnic backgrounds, or something more similar to what happened in the aftermath of the Yugoslavian breakdown? Alright, and we've made it to the informal part of the video here, guys. I do appreciate you coming along for the ride with me. So one of the things that inspired this video to be made was, like I said, that data that showed that there has been an increasing rate of business partnerships and marriages, in fact, between Ukrainians, Ukrainian nationals and Ukrainian ethnics, and some of the immigrants who have come over from the Russian Federation to administer some of the regions and work in some of these regions in Donbas and the surrounding areas, which are currently under Russian control. Now, they're being fought over. These are, conflict zones, hotspots. There's a lot going on there. But in general, they have mostly been under Russian control for the majority of the war. And a lot of non-Slavic ethnic groups have come over and start working in that area. That's kind of how it is in the entire Russian Federation. Once a new frontier opens, like Siberia, once there's a new place for people to come over and work, a lot of the minority groups, which include Tavars, which are a partially Turkic, I believe. They are a group of partial Mongolian descent as well. The Tatars, which are a group definitely of partial Turkic descent, and the Caucasian groups, which include the Chechens and some of those, the Dagestanis, some of those other predominantly Muslim ethnic groups that live in the Caucasus region of Russia, in those mountainous regions. So a lot of those people of those ethnic groups have been moving in to the now Russian-held territories in eastern Ukraine, starting businesses, performing jobs, and intermarrying with the locals in a way that previously had not occurred. Ukraine has been a very ethnically homogenous area and a very pro-Slav to the exclusion of everybody else type of area. A lot of racism, I've mentioned that. And it's been mentioned countless times by people in the news and in other more mainstream sources. So the fact that there's now currently just this ongoing melding of cultures in the region is of particular interest to me. I do wonder what the effects of this will be long term and if it's sustainable, because the studies have shown that there was a bottleneck in the Slavic population some thousand or a few hundred years ago that has really lowered their genetic diversity. That's true for a lot of European populations, actually. Irish people, notably, had a big bottleneck. A lot of I don't want to say the word inbreeding, but it is inbreeding. But it's not as it's not like brother sister inbreeding. It's more cousins marrying each other over multiple generations that led to a shrunken gene pool. In Eastern Europe, one of the ways this has been balanced out is by the Mongolian invasions and the how can I say this? The leaving of genes that the Mongolians did in that region, which created a few new ethnicities, but also just revitalized the gene pool for Slavic people and helped them out. Because when the gene pool gets too small, it gets too small, and when people are too closely related, you get some issues. So admixture between some of these East Asian descended groups and, of course, the Turkic descended groups. Admixture from those groups into Eastern European populations could solve some of the health problems that we're seeing in Slavic populations in the region. And just in general, I think it's going to help improve the culture of the area because it's hard to be racist. Well, it's not impossible, but it's harder to be racist when you're of multiple ethnic backgrounds from different sides of your family, mother and father. So I do think this is ultimately a good thing, and I am supportive of it. But we do need to be aware that there could be a backlash depending on which faction within the Ukrainian forces wins out if the Ukrainians do win. If the Russians win, we're going to see something similar to the Russian Federation, which is a multi-ethnic society that tries to stay together and work together. But if the Ukrainians win out, depending on if we see some more hardline Slav nationalist racist factions take over, we may have a rough time maintaining this multiculturalism, which is improving the gene pool and in general the economy of the region, having this influx of foreign workers and foreign capital. So we'll see how it all works out in the end. But for right now, I do see promising signs, and I am very interested in the developments. I think right now the data shows that it's not super high, the amount of intermarriages and business partnerships, but it is significantly higher than every other region in Ukraine, just based on the math of it all, the statistically significant amount of business partnerships in particular occurring between different ethnic groups in the region. All right, and that's going to be just about the end of this video, so I do appreciate you guys sticking with me. We've been doing a thing here lately where we've been having less guests on, doing more solo videos, but we are going to bring guests back very soon, this weekend in fact, and I do appreciate you guys sticking around through this. I think the next guest we're going to have on is going to really bring some deep insight to a lot of the issues facing the world today, but in particular some of the issues we really care about here. He's somebody very politically minded, very aware of the state of the world, and just in general interested in doing research and finding things that may not be presented by typical media sources and media outlets. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of research if you want to find a good story, if you want to find good info, if you want to find statistics and data that isn't manipulated. And this is somebody who is very educated in that, something that I myself have had to do and have had to work on. It's a skill. You have to maintain it. You have to always be searching, always be looking, always be trying to find the right sources that'll give you the best information. A lot of information is manipulated, hidden, covered up. So we always got to be vigilant, and we always have to check sources, check biases, and try to see if we can find good information. This is somebody who I've helped with that and who's helped me with that before. Somebody who's very well informed, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So as always, thank you for listening. I do hope you enjoyed this today. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment if there's anything you would like me to further explain. Have a wonderful day.